Every moment we see inside the PA Woods Vivarium, it's made possible by what happens behind the scenes. This episode is about care, not just what is visible, but the systems, routines, and decisions that allow the toads to thrive year after year. We can't begin talking about the systems that are in place for these animals without the most important one that I have been focused on keeping diligent record of since 2018, and that's keeping up with the weight of all of these American toads. I keep this gram scale above their tank and make sure to weigh all 3 American toads at least once a month. We want to make sure that they stay in the designated weight range that the veterinarian and I came up with to make sure that they're not obese and they're not underweight. This is one of the most important aspects that gets overlooked often by keepers. Maintaining a healthy weight does not necessarily mean it's an exact gram. It could be a weight range because these animals fluctuate their weight in the wild. And in captivity, it should be no different if we're keeping these animals with the approach of having seasonality. And as we talk about seasonality, we move into the environment itself, a weather station that tracks conditions inside the vivarium and compares them to the weather outside. Temperature, humidity, and other trends are monitored continuously, not in isolation but in context. Alongside it are the moisture sensor, a thermometer, hygrometer combo sensor, and all of this works together to give a complete picture of what the toads experience day to day. These tools allow adjustments to be made before problems arise. The goal is consistency, stability, realism, and seasonality. Now here's a brief moment with Baldwin. Here he is, eating silkworms, hornworms, and earthworms. His feeding behavior, especially his appetite, are the ways that we're able to understand that he's healthy. These are signs of good health, especially whenever a toad eats confidently. It reflects the success of the care behind the camera. And on this day, Baldwin was not going to be denied. He was going to put on a show for the ages, unlike anything that we've ever seen before. So much so that we were going to put a ticker on the top to keep a scoreboard, if you will, and showcase how much both of these toads eat. Now there is one thing to mention. Ananias has been eating a lot this week, so it's very possible he was less motivated, but even if he was, Baldwin took advantage of it and he wasn't going to be denied. Another aspect that we focus on is enrichment and stimulation. We play these sounds in all of the videos, but the animals have access to this above the tank, hearing daytime sounds like they're in the woods, and nighttime sounds as well. And these change depending on the season. Spring peepers, toads, and gray tree frogs will actually have their calls playing at night in this enclosure in the spring, and crickets and katydids and others in the fall. But it's not just about the environmental enrichment and the auditory stimulation. We also run a tight ship and make sure it's clean, using these vacuums and air purifiers, all of them smart, running on their own schedules to make sure that we get the cleanest air possible, and we also get all of the dust particles and everything else out to make sure that these animals have the healthiest possible living conditions. As I've said in different episodes, Ananias is not the quickest, it's Baldwin. And he's not the strongest, that's Junior. On any given day, he can be out-competed. He can be defeated on the battlefield. And on this day, Baldwin made sure that we were recording one of his greatest victories inside the PA Woods Vivarium. Despite all of the food that's been going into the enclosure since the toads have been more active, Baldwin put on a spectacle. Again, this isn't his favorite prey item, silkworms and hornworms. He absolutely loves the dubia roaches, but he must have been starving. And again, with the weight that we record, he had lost 10 grams since August. so it might be possible that he needed to put on some weight, especially in the colder months, and this was his opportunity to do it. Despite his meek behavior and his docile approach inside this enclosure, he is still one of the most formidable inhabitants of this enclosure. Make no mistake, he might not own this enclosure, it might still belong to Ananias, but he is still going to eat and get his, despite all of the ferocity and the dominant behavior Ananias shows. It's not going to intimidate Baldwin, and it shows you how a little docile American toad could still hang in there whenever the competition is at the highest point and everybody is looking to make a highlight reel. Everybody is out for themselves and they want to establish control of this enclosure. Baldwin still finds a way, and he shows us it's not about having the most aggressive approach. Sometimes it's the perseverance to keep going and keep battling that give us some of our most successful moments. And Baldwin is a clear example of that on this day. Even though Baldwin had his front left wrist surgically repaired a couple of years ago, it doesn't seem to be hindering him from being competitive and shining in these lands. Each American toad has its own strategic plan. We make sure that we're going to keep the animal healthy within the weight range, but also keeping it healthy, avoiding any parasitic issues or bacterial infections. During the active season for the American toads in the wild in Pennsylvania, I'll actually weigh them across the different seasons. This provides a more clear representation of the different weight ranges that the animals actually weigh out in the wild depending on the season, and it helps me to have a little bit more comfort in creating the weight range for my animals. This might be something to take away for any toad keepers. As for Ananias, he retreats into the water area, and this is the first time I've ever seen him use the waterfall. Even though he had a tough day, with Baldwin dominating getting all of the food, he understands it's just one day. It might have been a battle that he lost, but the war is far from over. These American toads have so much opportunity inside this ecosystem. All of the practices, the protocols, and the strategies that we put together are only made to benefit all of these animals. And I wanted to make an episode to encourage the toad keepers to aim for the stars, and spoiling your animals is never actually spoiling them. It's just giving them the best quality of life. I hope that you enjoyed seeing how I keep my toads, and I also hope that you'll like and subscribe and share with your friends for more The Woods Uncut content. Thanks.